All right. So first up, call to order and introductions. I think we can go ahead and have, I think we all know each other at this point pretty well. So we can have Gail go ahead and do the roll call, get it kicked off. So Gail, I'll turn it over to you.
Of course, Tim Horst.
Here.
Jim Shirk.
Here.
Katrina Corcoran.
Here.
Christopher Fellerhoff.
Here.
Abigail Flores. Julian Anderson.
Here.
Nolianda James.
Here.
Elaine Watson.
Here.
John Marsh.
Here.
Kelly Fearon.
Kelly's left the city.
Oh, okay, thank you. Jamie Morris. Samantha Flores. Wait a second. Samantha, you can unmute. There you go.
I'm here.
Danielle Rodriguez.
Here.
Jason Jackman.
Brenton Moses here as his alternate.
Thank you. Jonathan Forbes.
Present.
Peter Davitt.
Here.
I believe David Aylesworth is excused. Is that correct?
That sounds right. Yeah, I forwarded you his email.
Thank you. John Kubicki. John, you should be able to unmute.
Dr. Vicky here.
Faye Miller. Victoria Klug is also excused. Martin Santiago, Mike Disco.
He emailed me today. He should also be excused.
Okay, thank you. Sally Thompson.
Here.
David Soliti.
Here.
We do have an in-person quorum.
All right, thank you very much, Gail. You heard that in-person quorum, so appreciate everyone showing up today. And next we can go on to the public comment section. I don't see anyone in the room today, but is there anyone online? Public comment? All right, hearing none, we can go to members' interests and future topic requests. Thank you for putting that on the agenda, Ben. Appreciate that. Does anyone?
Critical mass will be riding Friday night, weather permitting. Meet up Kirk Dixon at 7:45. We depart at 8. 13-mile ride. We'll be down in Hyde Park, and we'll be up in Ybor in between. David's ridden with us the last couple of months. It's been a good ride. Spent to 40, 50 people. Pretty safe. Not too insane. The crazy kids on their one-wheel bikes have left us, hopefully. But yeah, come on out if the weather's nice and you want to ride your bike.
The city of Temple Terrace is planning another walk with the Temple Terrace mayor. It's currently scheduled for Saturday, November 4th at 8:30 a.m. So they take a little walk the city, look at the historic homes and places. So it's pretty nice event.
Yep, done that walk. It's fun, especially when you walk with somebody that knows the story of the old houses, some of the big old houses. We walked in some lady's gardens the one year I did it. You know, just walking back there, it's like, oh, come on and see. She's got an English accent. Oh, come and see, you know, and it's pretty cool.
Anybody else? All right, well, with that, we can go ahead and move on. The approval of minutes from August 23rd, 2023. Have any comments regarding those? If not, make a motion.
Jim Shirk, I move we approve the minutes. It's written.
Jim?
I'll second. Watson.
All right. Thank you, Alan. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? Please speak. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much, everyone. And next we can go on to our one only action item. We've got Tonight, it's the DPAC Top 10 Project Finalization by our very own Ben Gordon. So Ben, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, and I'll certainly be willing to share as needed as well.
Well, this is the charm, you all. It's out. Let's see. Okay, can everyone online see the screen?
I can see.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. Right, so as always, thank you all for moving closer to getting this together at our last meeting. And as you'll probably remember, we had some ties in our ratings, right, that made it a little bit difficult to finalize the ranking of our top 10. You'll see we had 4 in a row that got an average of 4 stars. And so what we agreed to was that we would try to use some objective crash data for the limited purpose of breaking the ties, right? And if necessary, we could also use multimodal level of service data as well. And so in the month between, I did my best to try to take a crack at doing it that way. So I went into the Signal 4 database online, and basically for intersections, I set a 100-foot buffer around them, and got the total number of bicycle and pedestrian crashes from 2018 to 2022, so through all 4 of those years. And yeah, I started just by only looking at serious and fatal injuries. And so for that column, you'll see for the first tie, Florida Avenue and Waters Avenue had the most, two crashes in that period, 2 serious or fatal crashes in that long period. And then the rest were 1, 0, and 0. I should say that, while I was doing this, I also realized it was going to be really hard to compare road segments to intersections by themselves. And so I came up with a dubious, but at least acceptable to me approach of basically, for those of you who submitted segments, I took the 2 intersections and the endpoints of those segments, right? I collected the same crash numbers, and then I averaged the 2. And I figured that was at least something of a temperature check that would give us a number to work off of. And so, yeah, I had 2, averaged out to 1, 2 zeros there. And since those numbers were so low, I followed up just by doing another look that was just all crashes, not just serious or fatal. And right, that gave me Florida Avenue and Waters Avenue came out on top clearly again there. And then I had, 1, 3, and 1. And so at this point, I kind of tried to synthesize them just to create an order out of it. So I put Florida Avenue on top, then Hillsborough Avenue second, because it at least had 1 serious injury, right? And then for Kennedy Boulevard and Meridian, I put Kennedy, the Kennedy intersection above the Azeel Street one, because it had 3 crashes total, and Azeel Street, that segment only had 1, or averaged out to 1, and averaged out to 1 between the endpoints. So yeah, my apologies. I think that this could have been done a little bit more scientifically in retrospect. In particular, Tim pointed out earlier that I could have set a wider buffer around those intersections, and we may have gotten a little bit richer information from there. But yeah, I guess I just open it up from here. Though, let me know what you think. Is this an acceptable way to rank our top 10? I guess that's the question to address now.
I have a question. This is Chris Fellerhoff, for those of you online. So you didn't actually apply that LOS at bounding intersections?
Yeah, I did not.
Okay.
And the reason for that, you can probably see a bit of the story just in the chaotic way that they're written down there. It was going to be hard to average out level of service data for longer segments, right? Because it's these sort of qualitative ratings. And, some of the segments covered multiple segments, multiple different level of service ratings. And then the intersections had 2 each usually,
Right.
one segment on the east and another segment on the west. And I thought the crash data was decent enough because we had decided that we would prioritize that above level of service at our list.
I don't really object to it, but I'll just kind of point out that in that system, the one with multiple Fs ended up lowest, which that just kind of points out a challenge of using crash data, because if it's scary enough out there, you'll often find that you have very few crashes because nobody's even trying to ride out there. So someplace with a horrible level of service may have few or no crashes. And so it's just one of the things you got to juggle with that. And that's a good illustration of how that could be at play, because that was the one you ranked lowest with crashes.
That
So it
is
just doesn't,
wonky.
people are just staying away from that. It could be that people are just staying away from that altogether.
Very true, yeah, and I know very valid point, and I know we had the discussion last month as well. I think there are pros and cons to prioritizing either, but since we kind of agreed to start with crash numbers, I figured I would defer to that. But and then, John, I think you may have had an insight about Rome Avenue that you wanted to share as well. Is that in my head? Maybe
I
I'm
think that was me back.
so sorry, David.
Yeah, that's okay. So I had elected to remove Rome Avenue. That was one that I had proposed, because after I proposed it, Kelly had indicated that the city of Tampa already had it in their plan to update Rome Avenue. So I was thinking, if that one goes away, the next one on the list was the other one I had proposed at Kennedy and Boulevard. And so I guess assuming that there's some benefit to being in the top 10, that I'd like to have Kennedy and Boulevard be in there in lieu of Rome Avenue.
How does everyone else feel about that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. Let's see, I lost this now.
Yeah, I want to have a little bit of a discussion regarding Florida Avenue and Waters Avenue. Because I live near there, and I recall that a couple of years ago, they reconstructed the signal and added PHB at that location in front of the shopping center. I'm not sure exactly what year that was, but I want to say that did fall between the 2018 and 2022 period that it was pulling crashes from. So I guess, I would say, like, let's have another look at that as far as how things have been since they did those safety improvements there. And then I guess, what was the ask at this location? I believe it was like related to transit stops and moving the transit stop like closer to the PHB crossing. Is that like the meat of the recommendation? Okay. I just want to see if anyone had anything else to add on that.
So would you suggest, Tim, that we just remove it from this list for now, bring it up in future advocacy, or if necessary, or?
No, I want to say that.
Okay.
I think it can remain there. I just wanted to kind of caveat the crash data there.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I guess that one important thing to bear in mind is obviously we're branding it as a top 10 list, and that matters, but obviously we're not going to take some simplistic approach where we say, okay, number 1 needs to be addressed before we do any advocacy around number 2. I think we can focus on them just being the 10, and we'll navigate that as we get there.
Yeah, I think, say we adopt it and we'll call it, it's kind of a priority list, right? It's a reflection of what we see as a need combined with what, we want to happen as well. But then I think we need to be specific regarding what the recommendation is for these locations, because, you don't want to be so broad that it's, vague, but, it's coming from the bike head group, approved, so it's pretty obvious what the concern should be. So maybe we don't need to state that. Maybe we could just leave it to them to figure out what all the issues are. I don't know, does anyone have any thoughts about that? Because I know, like, they're gonna see like Waters Avenue and be like, oh, we had a PhD here, we did the signals, like what exactly? So I was thinking maybe,
I think everybody had it. I
Yeah.
think it's a good place to start and just leave it. I mean, I know like Penny, we talked about that, and I was very familiar with standing on that corner for years. I don't know what else they could do, but I think they definitely need to look at it again, because maybe, things change and there are new things that they might be willing to try.
yeah,
Yeah, and John, I was thinking about that after you made that comment at the prior meeting. And I think over by Kennedy and Tampa, right now by the Bank of America building there, they've attempted to improve that intersection for bikes and pedestrians by putting those, I don't know what you call it, reflective posts around the intersection, kind of bifurcating a little bit here where you walk from where the cars turn. But I was thinking perhaps something along those lines.
It's just tough. I mean, I know the boulevard is so hard, because
Yeah.
there's like that hole right there in the corner, and then the other one, the radii is so sharp, and you don't want to make it wider, but the trucks just go right over where people stand. And there's all these UT students going back and forth all day. I don't know.
yeah.
I-
So you'd say like,
Though I work in the department that would probably look at it, I would really like to see. them look at
right,
it.
them to look at it and be like,
Yeah.
this is to figure out how to improve the situation.
Because sometimes they'll go, we talked about, why don't we try this?
Right. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Maybe it would be helpful to have everyone that proposed these write up as a reminder, if it's not already in notes, what the ask was, to help
Okay.
remember those. I mean, as a next step for advocacy. This is Katrina, by the way.
Okay, I agree. I think that'd be a great next step, is to go ahead and put a recommendation like with each of these locations, just so they can have a sense of, what our thought was and what we identified as a critical thing. So yeah, I know some of them will be intersection improvements, others will be PHVs, others transit related things, so.
You could release the list with the recommendations on it and the assessment, maybe just a little picture of the intersection on each entry. People love pictures that'll make an attention grabber, I imagine.
And just have like a couple of notes as far as what was identified
Right,
as
yes.
a need.
So then we go back to the person who said, well, this needs to be fixed, and maybe have them send you a short email, 3 or 4 sentences, 6 sentences, whatever, and then you can put it into a document. It's like, well, here's the Florida Avenue. This is what this person, they brought it up, they presented it to us, this is what they saw, and then we could look at that, maybe, read what they wrote. Because here, I remember some of these, most of these streets I've probably been on, but I couldn't tell you the specifics of what we looked at those days. So, but to have something written, or we could represent, the top 10 and then use that as a basis for discussion. But I don't remember each of these and what it is. I honestly don't remember who presented many of these, so it's,
Yeah.
it's been, you meet once a month, and this was, started 4 months ago,
Yeah, it blurs together. I would be long if I said it didn't for me too sometimes. But I'm thinking, what if we kind of use this to approaches, right? We could start with, I'll send out a reminder email to everyone. We could have everybody send me your little blurb, your summary of what's wrong, what you want fixed. You can include a picture if you want to, or you can just tell me what to look for and I'll dig it up and call. And then I'll stitch all those together into a little top 10 document, right? I'll email it out to you maybe a week in advance of the meeting. We can get through it, then we'll pull it up at the next meeting and go through it. And just anybody who wants to add on, additional observations, that will be their time. Because I'm sure that, no single person has all the insights on these locations. And I think a lot of productive discussion came from us kind of bouncing off of each other in that way. So that could be a way to sort of refine this into a final document. Yes.
But you're gonna send that to everybody, not just the people who originated that discussion, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry, like the compiled document, I'll send it out to everyone.
Because I wasn't the person who suggested Florida Avenue North file, and I have strong opinions about it.
Oh, yeah, totally. You know what, maybe what I'll do is
Okay, yeah, just when you send it out, just make sure everybody gets it.
yeah, I'll send it to everyone. Yeah, you can send me your comments, but we'll discuss it at the next meeting as well. So that will be a second chance for you to. It'll go.
Ben, do you still need a motion for this?
I think I do, yeah. And obviously there is the issue of Rome Avenue. Is everybody okay with removing that and replacing it with Kennedy Boulevard?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I need a motion.
We have a motion to move as amended, according to David.
I motion to move, this is Katrina, I motion to move the top 10 list as amended and for Ben to provide us with a more detailed document for us to review and bring back to the next meeting. But approving this list as amended.
I get that motion. David Sleddy.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Does that mean you're just switching it? Or you're taking it off?
Yeah, I'd be switching it, be removing.
Kennedy
the
and Rome
Rome
being the flip.
and bumping Kennedy Boulevard.
10 and 11.
Yeah, okay, well, to make a request then that in that finalized document, you include what the maintaining agency is. So that way we can, send the list out to those agencies so they're aware of it and we can kind of advocate from that angle.
Sure thing, Mr. Chair. I'll take the agency.
Maybe that'd be a good idea to
Well,
Deal
that'd
with
be the next
follow-up.
question, once we get to
Yeah.
the entire campaign report. Let's just get in front of it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Did anyone guess how I'm going to celebrate this adoption tonight? I'm gonna finish up the last of that pizza that we had. It's so thank you all for not liking Sicilian. Learn from the wise, it tastes a lot better in the toaster. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
I am up presenting next, actually.
Oh, you are. Status report, yeah. Coordinated trails planning in Hillsborough County.
Great job coordinating all of that, Ben.
Oh, thank you, Trina.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Coordinate, right. All right, hi everyone, Ben Gordon, Hillsborough TPF. So this is, they were just going to talk about coordinated trails planning in really the whole Tampa Bay area and across the state in Florida, and with a focus on what our county and what our TPF has done to kind of promote these initiatives. And the first thing I should say is that across our state, MPOs have led coordinated trails planning efforts in the Tampa Bay area in particular since 1995. It's a really integral part of our work. And some of our efforts involve cross-agency collaboration on large-scale statewide initiatives, right? We work with the Florida Greenways and Trails Council, and that's part of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They advise the Department of Environmental Protection on issues of intergovernmental cooperation and private partnerships for developing the Greenways and Trails system. And they also approve the Florida Greenways and Trails System priority corridors. And that is essentially, it's a network of proposed trails across the state. Now, the Florida Department of Transportation takes those trails and refines them into a funded network, and it calls that the Sun Trail program. That program was established in 2015, and along with previous efforts to plan the Coast to Coast Trail, those began the first truly regional, sort of statewide trails projects in Florida. On a more local level, the earliest foundations for regional trails planning were laid in 1993 with the West Central Florida Metropolitan Planning Organization Chairs Coordinating Committee. I was almost out of breath there, which created a multi-use trail committee in 1995. The next major organizational development came over 10 years later when the Tampa Bay Regional Transportation Authority was founded in 2007. And in 2016, the West Central Florida Chairs Coordinating Committee hired PBARDA, hired the Regional Transportation Authority to facilitate trails planning. And their staff member, Anthony Matanti, held meetings of every Gulf Coast Trail county. And those paired with the Coast to Coast Trail to really increase local momentum for these statewide regional efforts. By 2018, the legislature changed TBARDA to focus solely on transit. TBARDA no longer exists really anymore, sadly, it's way out. But regional trails planning after that shifted back to this Chairs Coordinating Committee, which rebranded as the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance in 2021. The Transportation Planning Organization, we've championed several successful inter-county trail projects too. And that began with the Friendship Trail Bridge, which was on the former Gandy Bridge. And it lasted from 1999 until 2008 when that bridge had to be demolished. And even though it's not standing anymore, that trail made a lasting impact because now we're moving towards having trails on all 3 bridges that cross the bay. And a study proposing a Courtney Campbell Causeway Trail that was conducted in 2007, and the trail was completed by 2013. Right now, the Courtney Campbell Trail, it dead ends in Cypress Point Park, but there's an additional side path that the city of Tampa has completed along Cypress Boulevard, and it goes from the park to the West Shore interchange. From there, FDOT is working on creating a connecting trail through West Shore Exchange, where it will then connect to the existing I-275 Greenway. And that Greenway will extend east to the Riverwalk and connect to Adamo Drive through the Riverwalk and the Selman Greenway. Now from Adamo Drive, it's going to connect to a trail facility on the newly reconstructed Maydell Bridge. And then the South Coast Greenway continues south through Palm River, Gibsonton, Apollo Beach, Ruskin and Waimama, all the way to Manatee County. And all of these trails will be part of the Gulf Coast Regional Trail, which was originally called the Southwest Coastal Regional Trail. So we have this sort of synergy between different agencies and jurisdictions. One group that's really interesting to keep in mind throughout all these efforts is the Trust for Public Land. They're a nationwide nonprofit that played a leadership role throughout all the Gulf Coast Trail efforts. They coordinated with both public agencies and private partners to try to fill the gaps in the trail. And that can be through land purchases, getting easements, multiple sort of ownership options are available to build up these trails. Now, countywide trail planning, that obviously still requires coordination between 4 different municipal jurisdictions, having 3 cities and the county to deal with. But those efforts started with the Hillsborough County Greenways Master Plan in 1995. And that plan is now being updated. Someone told me earlier today that it will be finished very soon. The Upper Tampa Bay Trail segments were planned in 2003. And they became one of the first major trail sections that were completed. And by 2015, the MPO had completed a feasibility study for the Bypass Canal Trail, which runs along the 14-mile waterway that connects Lower Hillsborough Wilderness Preserve with McKay Bay. And the follow-up on that project has been pretty good. We had County Public Works complete PD&E in 2022, and that sets the stage for design and construction fairly soon. Now, finally, in 2016, the TPO completed an update on the City of Tampa's Greenways and Trails Master Plan, and that created a combined single plan for Tampa and Hillsborough County. But unfortunately, that plan wasn't adopted, and the work continued into 2022 with community infrastructure planning. Okay, city level trails planning, that's been an area where the TPO has played a particularly important role. All of the trails, all of the city's municipal trail studies were conducted by the TPO with one exception, which would be the Tampa Greenways Master Plan that was carried out by the city. 6 phases of the Tampa Walk Bike plans. They examined citywide roadways for bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and one phase focused on downtown, another on USF, two linked to the Green Artery, and the West Tampa multimodal plan. And the Green Artery, it was actually a community initiative that we decided to further study because it was brought to us by a group that had really strong links with different neighborhood associations, and they had done advocacy with them before. So these ideas, they don't always come from the top down by any means. Now, the Plant City Canal Trail was completed most recently in 2023, and that came as a direct result of our work on the walk bike plan in 2017. And the Dale Mabry, oh, I'm so sorry, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot to follow. Right, Dale Mabry overpass, that's going to be part of the I-275 Greenway at the Midtown Tampa development with I-275 on one side. And the development has been supportive of the initiative. We've asked FDOT to finish the overpass and other segments with adjacent phases of the Tampa Bay Next program. And so finally, right, we're working with our partners in Tampa, Hillsborough County, Temple Terrace, and Plant City to fill in the gaps in our trail network. We got confirmation recently from TICO that we won't be able to use their corridors to build up the trails. We had a little bit more success engaging with them on that topic prior to its sale to a Canadian firm a few years ago. Right, that's currently off the table. That doesn't necessarily mean it's closed forever. But for the time being, at least, we're having to rethink where our routes would go. And one option that we have is to use Tampa Bay water lines instead. That's particularly promising because there's a new pipeline being constructed in the South County area. And right, so we had hoped that TICO could finish that trail, but we might be able to use theirs. And it's definitely not going to be possible for us to run the trail along that water line completely. There would have to be some deviations. It won't be a one-to-one correlation. But with 26 miles, it definitely opens up new ground. So we'll see where it goes. Okay, thank you all. And I'm sorry for the disjointed nature of this. It was a lot to cover. I really wanted to make sure that I got all of it down. But,
Can I say a couple things? The 2000 Tampa Greenways Master Plan and the 1995 Hillsborough Greenways Plan were funded through a grant from the federal government from the Rivers Trails Conservation Assistance Program from the Department of Interior. So I think it's important to know that we had federal assistance on that. And then the update for the Hillsborough plan right now is being funded through Hillsborough County with consultants. So it's a little more nuanced maybe. I mean, I know you did a really quick overview, but.
yeah, my apologies.
Nothing to apologize, just you weren't here.
Couple questions for you, Ben. It's Tim Horst, and his first one would be, you said that FC plan wasn't adopted by the MPO because you said that like there was a Hillsborough plan and like an MPO plan and they got merged together. Then you said it wasn't adopted.
That's right. Yeah, we completed the plan or the draft of the study, but it was not formally adopted.
And it wasn't actually part, the one that was done by them didn't, one of the reasons that we're updating the Hillsborough plan is that it didn't address some of the more greenway kind of issues. It was really more trails, more urban.
It was paved
Right.
trails.
Paved
exclusively,
The
and
Greenways
Greenways
Master Plan update that we were talking about, it was adopted by our TPO board. That's what it means. It was rejected by the Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners.
Not considered.
Yeah, it
Not rejected.
it was never
Never-
placed for
never-
adoption by the BOCC
Just draw it.
proper as a Hillsborough County plan, which the new plan, which is in process, we anticipate will go before the BOCC for formal adoption as the county's plan. Probably at a meeting in the spring. It's going through last internal reviews now and will be out for public review later in the fall.
Okay, so officially Hillsborough County has never adopted, like the TPO's plan, is that right? Like, is a new motion to try to get them to adopt it, or is it?
No,
It's been ongoing for 20 years.
I can, this is Chris Bellerhoff for those online. There's a couple of different documents that kind of jumbled in conversation right now. The plan for the county, which was the original and which is still operative for the unincorporated parts of the county, is the 1995 Hillsborough Greenways plan. There was 2016, a TPO countywide plan for trails as well, which focused primarily on paved trails. The original Greenways plan also focused on natural corridors, blueways, unpaved trails, and things like that, in addition to paved trails. That 2017 project, while countywide in scope, did not get presented to the BOCC for adoption as a county plan. It was adopted by the TPO board as a TPO plan.
I don't think it went in front of the city either, so, so it just is there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but so we have incorporated, the county is in the process of writing a new Greenways master plan, which has been ongoing for close to 2 years now. Like I said, it's in sort of final internal reviews presently. It should be out for a last public review and go before the Hillsborough Greenways Committee, hopefully in December. And if all goes well, then before the BOCC in February or March, just given their timeframes for actually, putting things on their agenda. So it's and I'll just state for the record that we had a lot of great cooperation from plenty of folks on the Hillsborough Greenways Committee who listen in, folks from the Planning Commission, folks from the TPO, folks from the cities as well. But this is intended to now be the replacement for the 1995 plan and the operative adopted plan for unincorporated county development of trails and greenways.
Thank you, that was thorough. Thank you.
And let me just add to that, Sally Thompson, the city plan didn't need to be updated the way the county plan did, because most of the stuff in the city is what we deal with on this committee, because we don't have wildlife corridors and all that, and what might be addressed there would be something that ELAP would purchase or something. So that's one of the reasons I ended up on this committee, because I chaired the City Greenways Committee and we sort of folded or went on hiatus.
Okay. All right, well, it sounds like progress is being made in that direction to get it adopted countywide and have a cohesive approach. So that's really good. One other question, second question I had was more of a specific question. I don't know if you know any details, but you mentioned that there'd be a trail connection between the Courtney Campbell Causeway and then, the trail to the Riverwalk. And one of those is part of the TV Next project, particularly around the I-4 corridor. And I was just wondering if you had any updates regarding, or if you knew anything, Wade, you as well, about what the quality of that connection was. Because I remember they came to us years ago, we made the comment to them saying like, hey, this is really important that the trail connection is made, the proper trail. So I don't know if there's any updates on that.
Isn't that the one that connects with I-4 and then comes into?
I can tell you what I know. Wade Reynolds, TPS staff. The connection through the West Shore interchange is still somewhat under discussion. I don't think we've seen a proper trail connection through there at this time. Some of the other crossings that we've seen are not ideal either, like the existing one, just across Cypress, that is, where it sort of doubles back. I know we've had conversations about that one here. The other, but there are parallel facilities being studied, such as Green Street by the city. And we'll be working with FDOT as they continue that. Also, as you get closer to downtown, you have the Green Spine from Howard into downtown that we can connect to and use that. So there are some options that are being considered, but it's still a few years out.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's, because I mean that project is probably going to construction sooner rather than later. So just, I guess, still up in the air as far as the design. Or...
As far as the left order change goes, yes.
And hopefully they get it done. Thanks for the update, Wade. All right, any other questions for Ben regarding that one? If not, we can move on to the second status report. All right, Roger, come on up, give us the tip roll forward and Waterworks Park sideways gap. It's quite the title.
How you doing, guys?
We're doing well, thanks for being here.
Good evening, BPAC. I'm Roger Matthew, TPO staff. Tonight I'm presenting you with 2 tip amendments. One is a roll forward impacting 3 already approved projects, and the other is to fill sidewalk gaps near Waterworks Park. This slide here shows the timeline of how the TIP and the FDOT work program are developed together. Every year in July, FDOT District 7 begins developing its 5-year work program. Following an extensive review process, the work program is adopted in July of the following year, and a summary snapshot of projects listed in the work program is provided to the TPO in April. This snapshot includes a list of funded projects which are required to appear in the TPO's TIP. So what is a roll forward amendment? Roll forward amendments to the TIP are routine and are needed when projects in the previous TIP had funding programmed in a fiscal year, but the work was not able to be completed. The program funds must be then rolled forward into the next TIP so that the work can be completed in the next fiscal year. The TIP must therefore be amended to reflect the movement of funds, even though the projects themselves don't change at all. This slide here shows the 3 projects impacted by the roll forward amendment. We have the Kennedy Boulevard resurfacing project, and the I-4 eastbound and westbound way station truck parking. We're showing a net change to the Kennedy Boulevard resurfacing project because it's now estimated to come in under budget. And although the projects are not changing and have already been approved, I included this slide to show as a reminder the existing conditions of Kennedy Boulevard. And the graphic at the bottom shows what Kennedy Boulevard will look like after the resurfacing and restriping is completed. The travel lanes and speed limits will be reduced while the median and sidewalks will be widened. And the top of this slide shows the 13.2 million programmed in fiscal year 23. And the bottom portion shows the 11.1 million roll forward to fiscal year 24. The delay occurred because some utility work in the city pushed back the start date of the project. The 2 approved way stations along I-4 were also delayed because work program funding wasn't authorized by the end of the fiscal year. So the top part's eastbound, the lower part is westbound. The next 2 slides show that nothing is changing for these 2 projects other than the funding being moved from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24. So this shows eastbound, there's westbound. All right, the next amendment we're presenting to you, this one is a project to fill in sidewalk gaps near Waterworks Park. This project will enhance the multimodal connectivity by eliminating gaps in the Tampa Heights district and creating a direct sidewalk connection from Tampa Street to Doyle Carlton Drive out in front of Eulalia. And this slide shows the funding of the sidewalk gaps at $718,000. And the work to be completed in fiscal year 24 using FDOT's carbon reduction funds. We've reviewed this project and it is consistent with our TIP priority list. And as part of our required public engagement activities in September, we published a newsletter describing the amendments. We published informational flyers on social media. We published a webpage and posted signs in the ground near the locations of the affected projects. And the roll forward and Waterworks Park sidewalk gap amendments were approved to the fiscal year 23-24 TIP at the TPO board meeting September 13, 2023. And that's all I have for you guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
3 projects, that's not bad. Any questions for Roger, comments?
Great job, Roger. He's my capable mate, so you know, we're back up with the lightning and then it's fun to see him present, so great job.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that'll be it. We can go ahead and have a motion to adjourn.
This is Jim Shirk, I move we adjourn.
The second.
Peter Devitt, second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Yeah, once.